wanted to thank everyone for attending our presentation tonight. My name is Adriana Palmucci, and my partner's name is Madeline Catlow, and we are students from Seton Hall University. This presentation is presented by the Sustainable Gardening Institute as well as ourselves. So starting off, the Sustainable Gardening Institute's ultimate goal is to educate others on how to garden and farm more sustainably. The question then becomes, how do they do so? Members do so by working with education organizations, colleges and universities, government agencies, and media channels, as well as the public, to advocate for more earth-friendly agricultural practices. A little overview. Throughout this presentation, we plan to highlight some of the key topics and features the Sustainable Gardening Institute Library has to offer. Our goal for you is, as an educator, to see the value found within this source. We hope after this presentation, you feel confident implementing the online library into your own classrooms. One of the main features found on the Sustainable Gardening Institute's library is the search by topic. The organization has a range of 50 topics to choose from, and they are listed alphabetically, which allows for very easy navigation. The library has a collection of resources, including documents, images, illustrations, maps, and videos that provide the guidance to growing plants and food in a more sustainable manner. Here we have listed some of the specific topics that can be found within the library. This includes compost, farming and food, ecosystems, nutrient runoff, soils, and sustainability initiatives. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about what these topics include. So starting off with compost, there are 5 specific organizations that have contributed information related to compost. The United States Botanic Garden, for example, clearly defines compost and provides specific information on how to create compost. Moving on, farming and food, there are 4 specific organizations that have contributed information related to farming and food. The Native Seed/Search organization provides information related to growing and caring for crops, specifically in desert areas. In regards to ecosystems, there are 3 specific organizations that have contributed information related to ecosystems across the entire nation. The Delaware Botanic Garden provides information on living shoreline concept design.
Moving on to nutrient runoff, 2 organizations have contributed information to SGI's library about nutrient runoff. Lawn fertilizers and other chemicals used to speed up plant growth causes extremely harmful pollution in nearby water sources. For soils, there are 4 contributing sources for soil information across the nation on SGI's library. Soil has many factors such as nutrient content, pH level, climate, etc. These factors allow the soil to be suitable or not suitable for a certain plant life. And lastly, for sustainability initiatives, there are 9 organizations that have contributed information across the nation to SGI's library. There are multiple aspects of these initiatives ranging from sustainable food, buildings and architecture, plant growth and tree conservation, energy sources, and water sources. And since global warming is such a rising problem now, this one is very important. So how can this information be used in the classroom is the question that we're going to ask next. Below, we have listed just a couple of the New Jersey state standards, science standards, that the information found on SGI's library can be useful for. So the content on the library can follow standards such as evaluate competing design solutions for maintaining biodiversity and ecosystem services, develop a model to generate data for iterative testing and modification of a proposed object, tool, or process such that an optimal design can be achieved. Analyze and interpret data to provide evidence for the effects of resource availability on organisms and populations of organisms in an ecosystem. Evaluate competing design solutions for maintaining biodiversity and ecosystem services, and apply scientific principles to design a method for monitoring and minimizing a human impact on the environment.
Moving on, some of the key features the library has to offer is contributed organizations, like we talked about in the different topics. There's various organizations that all contribute information that essentially make up this library. The featured garden, which is my personal favorite, and ecoregions. Going further into depth regarding those, the contributed organizations. This section of the Sustainable Gardening Library provides more information on all the collaborating institutions and where they're located. At the end of each description, there's a hyperlink that provides access to an entire list of contributor resources that institution specifically has published to the library. Organizations are again listed alphabetically, which allows for easy navigation. We'll go into this in more depth once we do the library tour. The featured garden. This feature allows for a virtual tour of one of the Sustainable Gardening Institute's finest gardens from the comfort of your own home, or in this case, your own classroom. Essentially, there's a new garden every single month that you're able to tour virtually. It includes captioned photos and a satellite image of the garden, so you can see exactly where you are and how to get to your next stop, just as you would with a visitor's map. This really brings the Sustainable Gardening Institute to life and would most certainly allow for an engaging in-class experience, especially with the state of the world at the moment. This would be a super great source to use in your classroom since, you know, it'd be a nice little virtual field trip. The Sustainable Gardening Institute's library provides information about nearly 200 different North American ecological regions. This information includes description on plant hardiness zone, soils, climate, vegetation, hydrology, terrain, wildlife, and land use.
So we're now going to stop for a tour of the library, a virtual tour, of course. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then share it again with the video. All right, so when you go to the Sustainable Gardening Institute's website, you're going to click on the library tab and click this link here. And you'll see this tab pop up, and we're going to start by clicking on the Topics tab. And you'll see here the list of 50 topics in alphabetical order. I'm going to click on a couple of them to show you how to navigate them and find the information. So if I'm going to click on farming and food, you'll see the map pop up on the right, and you can click on the different points across the United States, and it'll lead you to information on that specific area. So this Google Doc will pop up with other links to different information, and once you open them, you'll see another Google Doc with specific information for that specific area. If you click on another point on the map, it'll give you information for that specific area. This one here is a PowerPoint of different agriculture. And then if you click the home button in the top left, it'll bring you right back to that list of 50 topics. So next I'm going to click on native plants. The ArcGIS map will pop up once again, and I believe this bullet point is going to be in New Jersey. Yep, this is in Lakewood. A PowerPoint is going to pop up of the different native plants from this specific town. I believe, yep, Lakewood, New Jersey. It shows pictures, it gives the name of the plant and the scientific name. And again, this is information specific to their area. I'm going to click on home again, and the last one I'm going to show you guys is seeds. The map will pop up, you click on one of the dots, and this box here, just so you know, is a little description of the contributor. It has their website, their contact information, where they're located, and things like that. And then clicking the link towards the content, it'll open this Google Doc, and this one is how to save your tomato seeds. This one will come in handy later when I go over a sample lesson plan. A Google Doc will pop up and it'll tell you exactly how to save your tomato seeds. So the next tab I'm going to click on is the Contributors tab. When this loads up, on the left, you'll see information for different contributors, and on the right, another ArcGIS map will pop up. And as you see, when I start scrolling, the map will zoom in towards the location of the specific contributor. You can see the Alaska Botanical Gardens. And it'll say, again, their contact information, their website, and exactly where they're located. And you can actually click on their website. It's a hyperlink, so you can click on it and it'll lead you to their information. I believe if I click on one more, Biodiversity Heritage Library, if you click on that website as well, it'll tell you the information for their website too. The next tab is the Featured Gardens tab. So when this pops up, you'll see that every month they have a new featured garden, and this month is the U.S. National Arboretum. It's in Washington, D.C., and you can see on the top right that map there with the different numbers. You can zoom in to get a closer look, and those numbers represent different viewpoints in the garden. On the bottom here, they have the names and a little picture to represent them. And then on the top left, there's a little description to go along with them as well. It'll give you a little preview of the garden itself so you know what you're going to see when you go there and exactly where it is in the garden. If you wanted to plan your visit, you would click this Plan Your Visit tab in the top right, and it'll lead you to the website of the garden, and it'll tell you how to book a tour with them. And the last tab is the Ecoregions tab. Once this loads, it's another ArcGIS map, and a box will pop up telling you what information you're going to find when you navigate the map. You can see once I click out of that, on the bottom left, it'll show the legend and the different layers that the map has. And you can also zoom in and out to get a more specific location. And if you click somewhere on the map, it'll tell you the plant hardiness zone for that specific area. And you can zoom to it to get a closer look again. And some regions are bigger than others. You can see this one I click on here is much larger, so you can zoom back out when that happens. And then that link right there that says click here for ecoregion description. If you click on that, it'll lead you to a Google document that has a book in it, and it'll give you a table of contents so you can go to exactly what information you need to find. Just going to scroll through it a little bit. And that is the tour of SGI's virtual library. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
So as stated before, having you here as an educator, librarian, and administrator, the most important takeaway from this presentation would be how to apply this information to life in the classroom. Our essential purpose here today is to demonstrate how the Sustainable Gardening Institute's library can be implemented into the classroom. By encouraging students to utilize this online library, they will be better able to gain credible information regarding a variety of topics. There's 50 topics to choose from. There is a ton of contributing organizations that provide credible information. So this can be very, very useful in the classroom. With that, we have put together a model lesson plan to present to you on exactly how you can go about doing so.
So as Adriana mentioned earlier, we are from Seton Hall University, and this is the lesson plan template that they use. So you can see at the top, the goal or essential question of the lesson is to have students utilize the Sustainable Gardening Institute's website to inform their peers about a topic that interests them through means of a presentation. It covers the standard present claims and findings, sequencing ideas logically, and using pertinent descriptions, facts, and details to accentuate main ideas or themes, and use appropriate speaking behaviors. The objective of the lesson is students will be able to create and present a presentation to their peers about an environmental topic using the Sustainable Gardening Institute's online library. Some materials that they'll need for this are their computer or a school one if it is provided, so they can access SGI's library, so they can have a presentation outlet and Word documents for notes. You're going to need a projector so that the teacher can show the students how to navigate SGI's online library, and any additional resources that the students are going to need to enhance their own presentation, and just a whiteboard and a dry erase marker as well. So you can start off this lesson by asking your class to define the word environment and ask them what they know about it. Take a couple responses, gauge their knowledge, and then you can introduce the actual definition for the word environment, which is the surroundings or conditions in which a person, animal, or plant lives or operates. And then you can ask your students, based off of that definition, what are some things that are included in our environment? Take a couple more responses and you can write them down as you go. You will then introduce SGI's online library and tell the students that they'll be utilizing this source in order to create a presentation. You can say that the presentation is going to be about a topic of their choice and that they will use SGI's library to choose their topic and do their research. Moving on to the content development, you can start the section by opening up SGI's website on the projected screen to show the class. Click on the library tab, as I did in that video that I showed you, and the topics tab, and show them the list of topics that they have. Show them the contributors as well, and show them how exactly they can get to their information based on any specific topic. Give a couple examples like I did too. Ask the students how their responses to what are things included in the environment can correlate with some of the topics on SGI's online library. Hopefully some of the things they said already overlap, such as plants, animals, food, and things like that. For instance, if a student said vegetables are part of our environment, you could click on the farming and food tab or the seeds tab and show the class different contributors, and that they could choose one of those to get their information from. Completely follow some of the links to the exact endpoint where the Word document or PDF or PowerPoint will pop up, so they know exactly how they're going to get their information and when to stop clicking links. And repeat this process a couple times with some different topics just so every student understands. Since there are 50 topics, I suggest that you encourage your students to choose something different from their peers, but ultimately it could be their choice if that's what you decide as their teacher. Explain to students the criteria of the presentation. Tell them it has to be a couple slides, informative, and represent what you learned. And then you can instruct the class to open their computers and pick one of their topics. Make sure you record their topics so you know what the students are doing. For the guided practice section, the students will begin by opening up a blank PowerPoint or a Word document to take notes or to begin their presentation. Give them around 20 to 25 minutes, maybe even a half hour to do their research. Each Word document isn't too long, so it depends on which one they choose, but give them as much time as you think they need based on your group of students. This lesson plan could also be broken up into multiple days, or it could be a longer lesson if you wanted to complete it all in one day. Give students around an hour or so to completely work on their PowerPoint, create a script, do any other further research they need, and make any finishing touches. If you wanted to do a multi-day lesson with this, that is when the students then have the opportunity to possibly go home, go out with their parents, get any additional materials that they'll need to enhance their presentation. They will present to the rest of their class at that point. So for the closure, after each student presents, you could ask the class to make comments about the presentation. It could be something they learned, something they liked, or a piece of constructive criticism. And after all of the presentations are done, you can ask each student to tell you their favorite thing that they learned about their specific topic. And for assessment and evaluation, you can keep in mind the questions like, did they explain valid information? Did they give direct information from their source? Was it easy to understand and comprehend? And did the other students also understand and comprehend it? Did the students include pictures or visuals or any other props to make their presentation more exciting? Did the PowerPoint correctly demonstrate what the student learned? And keep in mind all of these questions when you're evaluating them so you can get a really detailed evaluation. And you can also formatively assess them throughout the entire lesson plan by making sure they're picking a topic, getting their information from SGI's library, staying on task with their PowerPoint creation.
Now that you have sat through our entire presentation, we're going to just take a moment to summarize some of the main points. So evidently, the Sustainable Gardening Institute's library has a huge variety of topics to conduct research on. Being that there's information related to many New Jersey State middle school science standards, the SGI's library makes for a helpful resource in any middle school classroom. Some key features that we discussed earlier included contributing organizations for credible information, the featured garden, and ecoregions. We hope you now feel more confident implementing this online library in your own classrooms.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to our presentation again, and we're going to open it up to some questions now.